Hello Trophy Hunters, Tanya here, and welcome back to the channel. Supermassive Games absolutely dominate the world of narrative horror, and personally I am a huge fan. So it's pretty unsurprising that I picked up their latest release on day one and I've already finished my first playthrough. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to share my initial spoiler-free thoughts about the Quarry. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the likes of Until Dawn or the Dark Pictures games, they're basically playable movies, but we get to decide how the story ends. You do this through various dialogue choices, quick time events, and scene exploration. The choices you make, or don't make, have a huge impact on the story and ultimately the lives of the characters. Now, this particular cinematic storytelling experience is set in an upstate New York summer camp, Hackett's Quarry, and features 9 camp counselors who are preparing to go home after a busy summer. But that doesn't quite go to plan, however, as some car troubles force the teens to spend one last night together at camp, much to the displeasure of the owner. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger is probably the worst tagline for a summer camp, but as our story progresses, it soon becomes apparent just how true this is for Hackett's Quarry. Supermassive Games are no stranger to getting some big name stars involved in their projects, and the Quarry is no different. Actors such as Brenda Song, Ted Raimi, Ariel Winter, David Arquette, and my personal queen of horror, Lin Shaye, do such a fantastic job of really bringing the story to life. The whole vibe of the game just screams 80s horror movie to me, and I personally love it. It's also a theme that is really in style at the moment, so I'm not sure if that's what influenced the developers to take the game in this direction, but either way, I'm here for it. I also feel like this excuses some of the more cheesy dialogue in the game, and it makes it seem less out of place than if it were a more gritty and serious game. This also extends to the self-aware observations that some characters make, and the references to classic horror tropes. Another feature which I think really helps highlight the nostalgic feel for this game are the tutorial videos. So these are short animated clips that are used to explain certain features of the game, such as interruptions or quick time events. These clips really remind me of the ones used in Fallout to explain your special attributes. I think they're funny, nostalgic, and they work really well in this title, but they're definitely not a feature I'd want to see used in horror games going forward. The trophy list for the Quarry is pretty decent, to be honest, even if it does follow a very similar style for the other games in this genre. There are trophies for finding all the collectibles in the game, which come in the form of evidence clues and tarot cards. Tarot cards are a new collectible and they are used by the fortune teller. If you've played any of the previous games by Supermassive, you'll know that they had either a criminologist or a narrator that comes in the story through certain points and offers you clues or lets you just know how you're doing. That is what the fortune teller does in this game. So it's very similar, but it's an interesting direction to take it in, and I really enjoyed it. There's also the usual mix of ending trophies, such as everyone surviving, everyone dying, or only certain characters surviving. As well as that, there are trophies for triggering certain events to happen in the story. One of the biggest differences that is included in this list in comparison to the others is that the Quarry have trophies for completing different chapters in the game. Although I'm pretty sure Until Dawn had chapter select, it didn't have trophies for completing them, so this is a nice little bonus, because no matter what you do in the game, you're at least going to get some trophies out of it. There are also no online trophies, which is quite nice because that tends to be the biggest complaint that people have about the Dark Pictures games. One thing to mention though, I wouldn't recommend reading the list before you complete your first playthrough, as there is one trophy in particular that I think spoils the ending. Circling back to the mention of online gameplay, one thing that really disappointed me was finding out that online play isn't actually available yet, and this won't be releasing until July. You do have the option to play the game couch co-op, but it's not quite the same, and unless you're able to actually invite friends round to your house, you won't be able to play with them. Another game mode that was included at launch, however, was Movie Night. This basically removes the gameplay elements and allows you to watch the game as if it were a movie. I think it's a really interesting idea and it is a cool feature to include with these games, but the story for the Quarry is about 10 hours long, which personally I don't think I could sit through and watch as a film. One other really cool feature about the game is that after you finish your first playthrough, you unlock something called Death Rewind. This means that when you play next, you have 3 chances per game to rewind events and change things to try and keep your characters alive. This will make trophy hunting for certain outcomes so much easier, and personally I can't wait to test this out. Although generally speaking I really enjoyed my first playthrough of the Quarry, I do have a couple of negatives that I feel I have to mention. The first one being the graphics in some areas of the game look so janky. The water is a prime example of this. It looks absolutely terrible when characters are interacting with it. I also noticed some really strange pixelation in certain areas of the game, particularly in some characters' hair or in certain backgrounds. Now I'm not sure if it is the lighting in these sections of the game that make it happen or what, but either way they kept popping in and out of scene and it was really quite distracting. Just generally in this game though, I feel something is a bit off about the facial rigging of some of the characters, and it just seems a little bit funky. There is one character in particular that I feel every time she is in a scene and talking, there's just something strange going on with the way her face is animated, and I can't quite pinpoint what it is, but it's noticeable. Now these things aren't the end of the world, but they were noticeable to someone like me who doesn't really care about graphics at all. So if you're someone who's a bit more particular about how your games look, this could be something that really bothers you. My second negative would be that this game feels a lot less interactive than previous titles. I feel like the QuickTime events or the Keep Calm segments in this title are great from an accessibility standpoint, but they're a little boring for me personally. I feel like a great middle ground for this would be an option in settings where you can either increase or decrease the difficulty of these button prompts depending on how comfortable you are. It would be nice and it would add this feeling of suspense back into the game that I feel the Quarry is missing. I also felt like this game struggled with some pacing issues that the previous titles just didn't. There's one chapter in particular that explains everything that's happening to the characters and everything that's gone on in the story, but as I'd already pieced the mystery together beforehand, it was tedious having to sit there and listen to this hour-long, drawn-out chapter that explained everything when it could have quite easily been condensed into a cutscene. This game also counts the end credits as an epilogue, so that makes them unskippable, even after the scenes have finished and it's just music playing. I really was not a fan of that. As much as I appreciate everyone that works on projects like these, I do not want to sit through a 20-minute credit sequence. That's just a no from me. Overall, I thought that The Quarry was a good, solid game. I would probably give it a 7 out of 10. It has a fantastic cast, a cool setting, and an engaging story. There are of course some issues with it, but tell me a game that doesn't have any issues. I was pretty hesitant to buy it at launch because I did think that the 65 quid price tag was a bit steep, but after finishing my first playthrough and seeing just how much replayability this game has, I don't regret my purchase at all. This game doesn't deviate massively from the standard Supermassive formula, but I don't really think it has to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know? I really enjoy these narrative horror games. I really enjoyed The Quarry. I had a fun time with it. So let me know your thoughts on The Quarry down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about the game. Though try not to leave any spoilers because that's not fair to those who haven't played it yet. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you all in the very next video. Bye!